What is up, OMI gang? This is Carlton Flowers here, your crypto pro.
Yay!
And we are going to take a look at the action and analyze this Comic-Con dump, so to say. So looking at the chart here, it looks pretty ugly. This big deep drop after apparently the news about OMI, VeVe not participating as a vendor or a presenter in the Comic-Con. And a lot of people getting nervous and being upset because this was supposed to be great news to pump the price and push the project along. But in reality, is this such a bad thing? We're going to analyze this and look at it from a realistic perspective in the long term, and then I'll tell you how I think it'll affect me. So let's just jump out of this chart. This is for shocking alarm purposes, just so you could see this big fat red candle. This is on the 30-minute chart. This is the people who panic sell based on that little news story, and then people who took advantage of the panic selling and bought right back in, and then we float down just a little bit. But let's look and see what the action looks like on the 4-hour, and then we'll run to the 1 day and give you an update on the overall picture for the progression of the OMI price. Here we have the 4-hour chart, and as we can see, this blue line, and I apologize for this chart, this is on the BitForex exchange. We are not on TradingView yet, so I don't get all of my fancy nice indicators with the volume profile and all the colors that you're used to seeing. But this will serve its purpose until we get on TradingView. I can't wait for that to happen. Since the peak, here is the peak right here where we were all excited, jumping up to nearly 0.005, right about there. And since then, of course, we had this nice correction. But on the 4-hour chart, overall, this little action that we have right here with this little miniature dump is minuscule. It just doesn't bother me one bit. In fact, we wicked down to the 200 EMA right here. Here's your 200, here's your 50. So as you can see, this little negative news did not cause the price to go down below the 200 exponential moving average, the 200 period. So we're just bouncing around since the 15th or so, in between these two averages. Then we had this little pump up action here, which was probably just a repeat. Whenever you get these big pumps up, let's just look over here. When this happens, you'll get kind of a rebound pump that tends to repeat itself all throughout. And this is due to this is the effect of the Fibonacci sequence, because you have waves. When you have a large wave that comes in, you're going to have ripples that go throughout after that wave. The Fibonacci sequence is a very magical sequence that was discovered by a mathematician way back in the old days, centuries ago, that describes the effect of human behavior and also nature, what we see happening out in nature. Human emotions feed into this effect of the Fibonacci sequence and these waves that come in and then give ripples after the initial shot that is fired right there. And then we see these little repeating waves that come up. And then this would not be, say, an effect of the Fibonacci, but this is just a reaction, a knee-jerk reaction from that so-called negative news story. So now we see a red candle here, but we're still above that 200 exponential moving average. All right, so let's clear that out. But before I turn on the indicators, what is the overall trend looking like? Well, from the beginning of July, we are in an uptrend, which is interesting because this is quite the opposite of what we're seeing with all of the alts. I would say that overall, for the 4-hour chart, we're looking good. This is nothing to complain about. It's different on the 1 day, and I'll show you that next. But as far as on the micro sense, we're starting on that slow road up since the beginning of July, since these dog days down here after we had that big correction. Now, what I did, I bought some during the last downfall. I added to my bag. And who knows, if this dips down below that 200 EMA, all the better, because if we can get way back down here, I would be glad about that. Maybe we can get some more panic selling, because I probably will add to the bag. Right now, I'm sitting on, 1.3 million, so I'm not a whale. I'd call myself maybe a crappie or a bluegill. I'm a bluegill. Shout out to Ray Fixie. That's a whale. Okay. You want to see a whale, go check him out on Twitter, and also post a message to him and tell him to hurry up and come on the channel to guest up here on the Crypto Pro Show. I'm excited about having him come in pretty soon. Well, anyway, if we can get another dip, I'll probably double the bag. I mean, it would be time to do that. And the reason why I would do that is because I'm looking at this from the long term. I'm not going to swing trade this much. I thought about swing trading a small amount. In fact, I added 100,000, a month or two ago, and I was going to swing trade that with the purpose of increasing the size of the bag. In other words, I would take the 100,000, buy low, sell it high, buy low again, sell high, and just continue to add to the bag. But since then, I have not. I just sat on it and did not have the time to swing trade it. So I'm fine with the action thus far, and I'm just sitting on that bag. All right, now let's jump out to the 1 day and see what the big picture looks like. Here we are on the 1 day chart, and it looks better than it did before. All right, we have no reason to complain about the price action. When I see people complaining about the price of OMI, it's really baseless, because this is what you call slow and steady progression. Now, I came in after this shot was fired with this pump. I bought in back here. Let's see, I got a bag here and I got another bag right there. So I had to get it in 2 chunks. And that was an exciting time. I was in panic mode because it took forever. The first trade, it took me 3 hours to buy. The second time, it took nearly 10 hours because I had to transfer USDT over to BitForex and wait for that to clear. And then I picked up my tokens. And one little trick, I will tell you this. Here's a little trick. Shout out to JT, my up and coming crypto accountant. Me, JT, and my OG Adam, the previous NFT whale and bag holder. We figured out that you can send USDT from one exchange to the other on the TRC20 network instead of ERC20. But be very careful, because the beginning address, it has to come from your address of where it's situated, and you have to tell your exchange, send this via the TRC20, and that has to go to another TRC20 wallet on the receiving end. If you mix TRC20 and ERC20, you will lose your tokens forever. They won't come back. There's not a lot of different exchanges that have the ability to do the TRC20, but you can do that, I believe, on Binance, Binance US, BitForex, and also Hotbit. That is my secret tip of the day. I have saved a pile of ETH fees by sending tokens from one exchange to the other via the TRC20 network. That's the Tron network. All right, back to the chart. Now, I came in here and we had the great big pump action and then the correction that came after that. Now, let's just look at this from a sensible standpoint here. We are looking good. Here is why. When you have a pump, you have a correction. But notice where the price is right now as compared to the first level that we were. Here we are near the peak of the first pump, and this is the base. This is the overall base. If we're staying above this rectangle, we're doing good overall. Now, sure, we did dip below that in this area here. But what happened? It regained its momentum and it came up above this triangle. That's a rectangle, duh. And now we see this rectangle serving as a support. So we'll just have to wait and see if this holds true. At the moment, with the price where we sit right now, we are calling this overall an upward trend. All right. Let's make that in green, as a matter of fact. This is an upward trend when you're looking at the big picture. It's not a negative. I think that as long as we stay anywhere above the levels that we had dipped down to here, it's all good. So from this point on, we're still riding high above this intermediate low point right before we had the big green candle pump here, and then the next pump that came right after that in the beginning of July. So we're looking pretty good. Now, let's clear this out and see what it looks like from the 1 week. There's not much data here, but on the 1 week, we can see that it is an absolute overall uptrend. So you're going to get this crazy action, right? You're going to get these big pumps and you're going to get these big corrections. But when you look at the highs and then where it comes back down to a base, here was base number 1 right here. Okay, let's just number these. There's base number 1. And then we touch down right here. Base number 2, it is higher. If we touch down on this green line, we can still go down a little bit further and we're still going to be establishing a higher base. So this is an overall uptrend. It is slow and steady growth. I would rather see this than some of the action that we've had on a lot of the other altcoins where we've given back all of the gains since the pump that happened in February. Some of the altcoins that we look at, some of the favorites, they're trading down here, down below this point of where we came out of the winter, all right? So if we are not trading down here below the point that we really could have settled down, I'm calling it all good. So in the long run, we're okay. Now let's turn on some indicators. Let's jump back to the 4-hour and then we're going to look at the 1 day and we're going to turn on a couple of indicators, the stochastic and the MACD, and show you what they look like overall. Here we go. And these are not the greatest. Again, this is not nearly as good as what you will see on TradingView, but it will serve its purpose for what we need. There's the MACD and the stochastic. So as we see right now, the stochastic is looking bearish, but it's rounding off. We're about to come down here into the oversold zone and establish another base. It looks from the positioning of the stochastic that we can settle in here at the 200 EMA. The MACD, which lags behind the stochastic, is looking a little bit more bearish with a crossover right there, and we're printing bars in the negative region on the histogram. But this could round back up as we get settled down on this base. Okay, now let's jump to the 1 day and see what they look like here. On the 1 day, this is nice. I like this. Let me make a point about the stochastic here on the 1 day that is very positive. As you will always notice when you watch my TA videos, I like to see what happens with the corresponding price points at the stochastic peaks and the dips. Here is stochastic peak number 1. Here is the little high point that we established there. Then we have a dip. And at this dip, the base price was higher. The next stochastic peak, what did we do? A higher high. Here is the stochastic low point. What do we have? A higher low. That, folks, is what I call solid. That's nice. I like to see that. So this is an uptrend. All right. The 1 day is looking very good. Now let's check out what the indicators look like on the 1 week. Let's scroll this out a little bit. All right. So here we are on the 1 week looking great. So this is a much bigger span of time on the chart. And with the 1 week, we're sitting pretty because I don't want this to peak out until we head into the bull run late in the fall or say November, December. It could even be January. But the positioning of the stochastic here tells me that we're where we need to be. Here we had a crossover with the fast line going below the slow, but then it caught back up. So it looks like it's pointing in this direction very slowly. So by the time this starts to come up, we should be able to peak. Maybe if we peak before September comes, we'll be in position to see a really big move to the upside where we will take out this previous all-time high right here. It looks even better on the MACD, which is lagging behind the stochastic. The fast line is below the slow line. This is the %K, the blue line. The %D is the red line. You notice that the red line is coming down and the blue line is leveling off, but it might be coming up where we will eventually see a crossover. And then we see that we've got the red bars on the histogram here. And when you're on TradingView, you get green bars when you go above the 0 line. So what would happen, we'll start to print these green bars on the histogram, and it's going to look something like this. Okay, that's what we want to see. So overall, we see a full cycle here. It's like a sine wave. A sine wave would start here, peak, come all the way down, and go back to the point of beginning. And I think it's a cosine wave starts up here or at the bottom and then repeats at the peak or at the low point. Mathematicians, is that right? Am I remembering my calculus right? Or is that trigonometry? Well, let's draw a box here around the full cycle. Let's see here. We start there and then we end here. And so this full up cycle to down cycle and back to zero could be complete. We could be started for cycle number 2. So I'm looking for buying opportunities between now and then because, as I said again, I'm waiting for the peak to come. And when the all-time high hits, I'm going to take profits. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be out of this forever. It just means that the kids need shoes. I need college educations, money to pay for my kids. And I will take profits once we get to a very, very high point. But for me, I'm not selling anything until we head to 50 cents, maybe $1. And that might sound crazy to some of you, but I'm waiting it out. I won't be satisfied until I see that happen. After we absolutely finish a blow off top and we head into a bear market, then I'll start to accumulate again. And I'm going to ride this just like I do everything else. I am a long-term swing trader and I'm in it for the money. Now, as far as my NFT bag, I'm at 340 right now, so I'm going to keep on building. My goal is to maybe store up 500 before I hit my next wave of action in taking profits. On the first wave of action, as you've seen in my older video, I made $8,600 and some odd dollars. Actually, when you add it up to now, I think I've pulled over $12,000 out of selling and flipping these things on eBay. That money covered my entire investment. So the 340 that I'm sitting on is basically for free. It's along for the ride. So that's a pretty good place to be. Now I'll start to invest some more money into the NFT bag and then wait until we get to the crazy days again, and then I'll start flipping. But I'm going to keep a moon bag. I have several of a lot of these items in duplicate. So let's say if I have 10, 12 Batman Who Laughs, I might get rid of, say, 8 of them at a peak and keep 4 for the next time that it cycles up. Rinse, wash, and repeat. And then the great thing is you can take profit on these items and then snap up new ones in the drops and wait for them to develop and mature. That's what I love about this. So when you're not able to swing trade and buy and sell in the crypto market, the cycles that we're seeing with the NFTs come a lot quicker. And it's a lot of fun to be able to increase the size of your bag and to make money while having fun and flipping these VeVe NFTs. So that's about all I've got. What are your thoughts about the big term picture? And also, what are your thoughts about the Comic-Con news in the immediate? I'll say it again. Doesn't matter to me, not one bit. News is not what makes a project. It's the fundamental strength and the idea of what it has and its ability to make it for the long term. That's about all I've got. Please like, subscribe, and share. And join me in the VeVe Telegram group, Crypto Pro VeVe, where we keep it clean, we keep it family friendly. We don't fuss, fight, and argue, but we want to keep a good, positive community and give each other support and share our ideas on strategy to flip these birds. I'm out of here. See you next time.